Educational and Applied Linguistics at Newcastle University. So let me just briefly introduce Professor Paul C. House and his research areas. So he's researching what is universal about human spoken interaction, arguing that all human populations use the same basic interaction engine with diverse overlaid languages. And the ENACT project he leads and the ENACT web application aims to provide a universal infrastructure to help people around the world appreciate their commonality and diversity. So now let's welcome Professor C. House to deliver his speech titled A Universal Infrastructure for Learning Chinese Language Through Cultural Activities, the ENACT web app.
Ni hao and welcome to Newcastle and to Newcastle University. It's a great honour to be invited to address you, and I'd like to thank BCLTS and the Confucius Institute for the kind invitation, and also Confucius Institute for a grant to help develop Chinese material. So I'll be talking about the app in a moment, but the start of the story is many years ago. I studied German and French at Durham University, actually. I know there are people from Durham here. And then I taught French and German in this country and also English in a number of countries around the world. And something I always found frustrating was that we taught language and culture completely separately, sometimes at different parts of the lesson, sometimes in different lessons, sometimes different courses, even different programs. I couldn't really think of any way of doing this, but in the 1980s, I started using computers, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could find a way to learn language and culture together? And so this is the result of the journey that I've been on, an app which enables you to learn languages, in fact, any language in the world, by doing the cultural activities associated with that language. Okay. So I'm going to be talking to you about the app. You've got the web address there. So if you're on Zoom, it might be best to log into the app on your own device, because you might not see everything that comes up on the screen when I show the website. And if you're here, you might want to log your device into the app as well as we're going along. Okay, so the idea of it is a very simple one. You can learn aspects of a language by doing cultural activities. So, for example, you can learn Japanese while you're doing origami. You can learn English while you're doing pumpkin carving for Halloween. You can watch a video of me carving pumpkins if you want at some point. Oh, we've got some feedback, I think. Sounded like me anyway. Okay, is that okay now? Right, so what I'm talking to you about today then is the result of 4 generations of digital technology over 15 years, which we've been developing in the lab. The lab you see there is the one that you can visit this evening or tomorrow evening to see what we do. So the first 3 projects were learning a language while cooking. The first phase was the French digital kitchen, because French is one of my favorite cuisines. That was the real reason. The second phase, we got a European grant to broaden it to a number of European languages. And that was using digital sensor for feedback. But then apps were invented, and so the third phase was an app for learning language while cooking. That's called Lingua Cuisine. And the fourth phase is the current one, which is an app to learn languages, any language around the world, using its cultural activities. And I'll tell you about the future towards the end of it. Oops. Yeah, that's okay. Right, so this has been a 15-year collaboration between ourselves, oops, that is applied linguists in the School of Education, Communication and Language Sciences. That's where we'll be going this evening, and also computing science experts. That's in the School of Computing Science. And the lab is called iLab Learn, and that's for the application of digital technology to language and education. So on this project this was funded by the wonderful European Union. Sadly, we're no longer part of it. And apart from ourselves then, with partners in Turkey, Finland and Spain. And we've got, these statistics are 2 years out of date, so we've got more than this now, but 119 activities, it's about 150 now, from 26 countries in 22 languages, and users over 7,000, probably more like over 8,000 now, from 161 countries around the world, which is the vast majority. Here's a map of countries where it has been used. You can see there are two big gaps there, Greenland and Mongolia. So we'll have to send somebody out there straight away to fix that. Okay, so we'll have a look then at the app. It's got 3 components to it. So the Learn component, this is where you use the cultural activities which are already there. So I'll show you how that works in a minute. But that's only one part of the app, learning what is already there. But very important facility is the Create facility, which means that anybody anywhere in the world can put up their own favourite cultural activity in their own language. And our overall aim is to get as many of the world's languages and cultural activities as possible. So unsurprisingly, there are lots of activities in English and in Chinese, and also in Turkish, but we want people to put as many as possible on. And actually, I know lots of you probably like using TikTok, is that right? Yeah, so it actually works in the same way as TikTok. You simply upload your materials, digital video, photographs, audio and text, it uploads to the system, and then it's published and anybody can use it. And the third component is Connect. In other words, it's a kind of limited social media, so you can interact with people who've put their activities up and give your feedback on that. Okay. And there are video tutorials which you'll find on the app, which can help you, give you advice on how to produce your own materials. Now, you're all language teachers, so I'm sure you know about task-based language learning and teaching, and you've probably recognized that this is an application of TBLT, but it's taking it outside the classroom because you can use this app anywhere. You can use it in a kitchen, whatever. So you probably know all of the ideas. You get the learners to complete a task, use language to solve a problem. The meaning is primary. The focus is on language use, but you're still learning as you're going along. And so the innovation then is integrating language with culture in the task. We call them now cultural tasks. And we're taking it out of the classroom into the workshop or the kitchen or wherever you want to go. Okay, so we've had a number of cultural activities so far, about 150 from a wide range of countries and languages. You can look at those on the app. We get more all of the time. Popular cultural activities from the UK. There's a range there. Also, if you're from Newcastle, you probably like to know we've got some Geordie content as well. You can learn dialects as well. So the activities tend to focus on food, celebrations, sports, and games, and make handicrafts, making things practically. Okay, so I'm going to shift now from the PowerPoint, and we're going to go to the website. Just minimize things. Yeah. Okay. I need to maximize that. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to learn now if you are on Zoom. So we're going to look at the activities which we've got. So we click on Zoom, and then if you go down a bit, you can see a list of about 150 cultural activities. So to sort them out, you can click on language at the top, and then it'll organize them into different languages for you. So you can see for Chinese, we've got quite a range there. And we're going to take a look at Tanghulu Beijing Ice Candy. There we are, because we'll be doing that activity this evening and tomorrow evening in the lab. So the template for the activities is always the same. You start with a video, and the video gives you an introduction to the cultural activity and also to the language. Lots of people use YouTube videos which already exist. You don't need to make your own, but you can do if you want. And then you go into a photograph of the components that you're going to use for the activity. So you get it written. It can be written in a variety of scripts, and then you've got an audio. It's a bit loud, isn't it? Okay, so you can play that as many times as you want. So the idea is you go through the vocabulary and learn it until you're sure that you know all of the words, and then you go along to the video, and you know you've seen lots of YouTube videos. You go through the stages, it shows you how to do it, and you can put subtitles in any language, in Chinese characters, Pinyin, and English. There's no limit to that. Now then, as you're all language teachers, I'm sure you all love testing, don't you? So you can finish then with a test where you match there. And you can do other tests as well. There's a more traditional type of test rather than the dragging type of test. And then you can then have the feedback section. So anybody who uses it, they can log in and they can add a new comment to the activity. Okay, so that's the basic idea for how Learn works. The templates are always the same. It's designed to be easy to upload your materials. Okay, so create, whoops, the wrong one. Sorry, we need to go to this one. Oh, no, that's fine. Okay, so for create, first of all, you need to set up an account, as you know, on the internet. Once you've set up your account, it's designed to be very easy to create interactive content. So you give your activity a name, select a video media type. We can do interactive video, we can do 360-degree video. So you make your video in advance, you make your audio, your written text and your photos in advance, and you go into the system and you simply upload it and say how you want everything to look, and then you check how it appears. It will appear the next day. So that's a brief overview of that. So we'll go back now to the PowerPoint, which is where? Down there. Okay. From the current slide. Okay. Okay, so you might be thinking, oh, well, that all looks very, very nice, but does anybody actually learn anything by doing this? So we've been collecting data for quite a few years on the lingua cuisine and the ENACT app. Oops. Okay. What can you learn? First of all, you can learn culture. At the moment, I know there are cultural experts in the room, but just dividing it to representations, culture as facts and information, things that we learn, which tends to stereotypes. The latest view is more of reenactment as culture as social practice, something that you live as you take part in the activity. So you're always creating something slightly new, and you can do both of those things on the app. Learning vocabulary. We've been collecting huge amounts of vocabulary data, and we've just finished writing an article, and next year we have a book coming out. This is simply some data from people learning Catalan here in Newcastle. So you can see the bottom line before they start, after they've created their activity, making a rose, and then 2 weeks later you see it dropping slightly because they're not actually using the language there. And so we found that you can learn the aspects of vocabulary learning, form, meaning and use, and you can see a few comments there which are from the users. We've got you should be getting a PDF of the PowerPoint for you to look at, so you can read through all of this. We also checked languaculture, awareness of other languages and cultures, and we found slight changes in that. So people often said, well, I thought this culture was completely different, but now I see there are lots of similarities between their culture and our culture, which is something that we aim to promote. We also found that people improved their digital competence a lot by using the app, but also particularly if they were creating the app. Of course, you know, lots of children nowadays will produce a TikTok video in 5 minutes and upload it, so they're very good at it, but older people, it sometimes takes longer to learn digital competence. Right, time to learn some Chinese. So we had a look at Beijing ice candy. Now, I'm very grateful to Dr. Simin Ran. Could you put your hand up, Simin, wherever you are? So Simin's there, and she'll also be in the lab this evening and tomorrow evening, so you can talk to her about project. So she did a PhD here with me. That's now complete, called the Chinese Digital Kitchen, and she's now the world expert on how to use our apps for teaching Chinese in China to foreigners. She's been there and done that and got lots of learning data that she'll tell you about. So she gathered data at 3 universities using a total of 72 participants who came from a variety of countries, as you can see. And this is the way she did it. Lots of cameras and devices set in a kitchen on the campus in these universities. And this is a typical setup. So we always encourage students to work in pairs, partly because that's the way that task-based language learning is supposed to work. You encourage people to speak in the foreign language when they're doing it. And you can see, of course, it's a research setup, but it's still in the kitchen, and they're actually doing the kitchen as they're going along, and it's all being recorded. And so there's the usual task setup, pre-task, during tasks, and post-task, but we wrapped around that a pre-test and post-test as well, which then recorded the vocabulary learning and gave lots and lots of data. So what you can see here, each of the 27 vocabulary items that they learned, so food and ingredients. You can see there's a game in all of them, but some of the words they knew pretty well already. So there's a modest gain on some and a big gain on others. And then Simin did some statistics there showing an overall result for the cohort as a whole. And then also collected participants' views in post-task interviews, saying that many of the students found this was a great learning experience and they were able to retain a lot of the words. Oops. That's okay. I think it's all right. Okay, now if you're working in Britain, then you will know that the British universities are now totally obsessed with impact. And what that means is that we have to take our research and use it outside universities in what is called the real world. Okay, so we've been doing that with the app. First, we started right at the beginning. Actually, the best way to ensure this was we got the real world to come into the university in the form of refugees, asylum seekers and migrants, but also local people, and we designed the app with them. So you can see that the computer scientists getting feedback on how the app's supposed to be used. The reason we did this is so that anybody in the world should be able to use the interface of the app, because they helped, people from everywhere helped to develop it. We also got local residents. This is Lorraine, who produced a Geordie jam recipe, and this incentivized her to learn foreign languages at the same time. And so the design was also was therefore global and local. And there's a terrible word called glocal as well, which combines the two words, but it sounds a bit naff to me, I have to say. And so we did studies of the people who took part in developing the app with us. This is Charden, who's the only person who did both the Lingua Cuisine and ENACT projects. He graduated locally with the first, and we actually teach using materials which he created in French, actually, and he's now doing a PhD. Apart from that, we've been going out particularly into schools, and we've been working with refugee children in Newcastle primary schools together with local Newcastle University volunteers. You can see two of them here. They've been running an after-school club. It's not only for refugees, it's for local children as well. And the Round the World Club is a great success with the school children, because each week they learn a new language and a new culture. They go around the world. And the university's marketing team is currently making a film of this. Guess what the activity is that they've just done? Anybody? No? It's origami in Japanese. That's an origami boat that they're holding there that the children made. Okay, we've also been bringing refugee groups in to the university, and we found that Pancakes Tuesday events have been the most successful. Can anybody tell me what they're doing there? It's a pancake race. Exactly. This is a traditional English activity, but we don't usually do it along the university corridor. We do it somewhere else. And this was part of Newcastle University's successful University of Sanctuary bid. We've also been getting school children in Newcastle to come into the university, to the lab that you're going to see this evening or tomorrow evening. We get about 120 children per year to come in to learn Chinese. We would do more, but it's actually very tiring, I have to tell you. And they learn Chinese calligraphy. You can see them learning the characters there, which they then take home to show their family and friends. And they also love making Beijing ice candy and then eating it. They think it's fantastic. So that's getting, so sometimes we get people in and sometimes we go out to use that. Now, do you know who this is? This is our Vice Chancellor. And even he has found time to come and improve his Chinese calligraphy with us. And we're actually very impressed because he wrote 3 characters and he showed more improvement than anybody else. So that's why he's Vice Chancellor. He's very learning. Okay, so what's the future then? Well, we've got a book coming out next year, Cultural Tasks for Digital Language Learning with Bloomsbury. That's about both the lingua cuisine and the ENACT apps. We also have annual prizes. We give those for materials in endangered languages, in particular, any endangered languages. And we've just finished the exercise for this year. So we gave 3 prizes and they will be on the website shortly. We're also developing a new app, as I'm sure you guessed, with artificial intelligence support. Everybody's doing that, aren't they? And we're very keen to develop a Chinese interface. And we're also interested in developing a Chinese version of the app, especially for use in China. So if you come from a university in China and you think you might be interested in collaborating with us on that, then please talk to me today or tomorrow, and we'll see what the possibilities are. At the moment, the interfaces, we've got our English, Finnish, Spanish and Turkish, because that's what there was for the European project, but we're very interested in getting a Chinese interface as well. This is the project team. You'll be seeing myself and also Dr. Alison Whelan this evening or tomorrow evening if you come along. And if you want to come on the digital lab tour, we'll be showing the Beijing ice candy and also the Chinese calligraphy exercises. And you'll be able to talk to Simin about the Chinese digital kitchen. So you can scan that if you want. And there will also be helpers to take you over to the iLab. And you can ask any of the helpers about how to get there.
I'll just briefly talk about this. So here, this is the QR code. So if anybody would like to visit our digital kitchen at 5 o'clock this afternoon, so please scan this QR code and register your interest. Yeah, and then so that we know how many people are going. And then so we have as you can see on the conference program, we are going to visit the digital kitchen at 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay, that's all. Thanks very much for listening.
所以这个刚才那个就是去观看这个数字厨房的这个刚才那个 QR code， 这个是我们非会员的老师们今天晚上可以一起去参观。那如果 CBCLTS 的会员老师们呢，因为今天晚上我们有个 AGM， 所以呢这个我们是会员的老师，我们明天下午我们会再安排一场。 大家还可以再去参观所以今天下午这场是非会员老师的。Okay, so now, so thank you, Paul, very much for your insightful talk. And then ENACT web application, yeah, okay. I think it's a wonderful app for cultural activities and learning languages through task-based yeah, okay, learning. And so now, so it's time for questions. So. Do we have any questions from the audience here? Okay, yeah.
Thanks very much. I've really enjoyed the presentation. It seems a very engaging way of learning languages, especially like the fact that people can upload in their mother tongue. People can upload in their mother tongue as well as in the language they're learning, and your definition of languages is wide-ranging, including Geordie, and that's superb. So 2 questions. One is, have you monitored gender in any way? Because it seems that we're always struggling in languages, or often struggling in languages, to bring boys into studying language, and this could be a great and exciting tool for boys to engage with, and maybe through sports they're interested in, or there are many boys also interested in cooking and handicrafts. But I just wondered if that's something you've monitored at all. And the second question is, I remember last year in Edinburgh, we heard from a keynote presenter about how language learning can help delay dementia. And I wondered if you've done any research on the impact on older people in terms of the cognitive gains that they can get from using this app. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Very interesting questions. In terms of monitoring gender, no, we haven't. But that's a very good subject for a master's dissertation. So next year I'll get a student to do that. Great idea. Okay, but you're quite right. You can upload any kind of activity onto the system, and so if you want to encourage boys in particular, then upload boy-friendly activities by all means. There's nothing to stop anybody from doing that, and it could, as you say, be actively promoted. In terms of helping delay dementia, that's a very good point. No, we haven't looked at that. One of my colleagues, Tony Young, works in the area of dementia communication, so I'll discuss that with him. If I'll check with Tony on that one. But I completely agree with you. That's something I'm interested in, personal experience. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah. So another question. Yeah. Okay. Don't stop.
So, can I just ask, is it all the same level of language learning in effect?
Is it all the same level?
Yeah. Is it differentiated in level?
Okay.
Because often these things are directed at sort of elementary learners, not complete beginners, but a certain level, and then there's nothing at later stages.
Sure. Okay. So there's 2 things. So anybody can upload anything. So let's say, for example, you want an activity for super advanced learners, then you can do that. And if you want something aimed specifically at beginners, you can do that. But what we generally find is when we put materials on, learners at different levels decide for themselves what to do. So, for example, you can put a video on with subtitles in the first language and the second language, right? And typically, students who are very advanced, and they say, "I want to get on with this activity. I don't want to do all this stuff. I want to get straight on to making the activity," giving themselves as little input as possible. So. Yeah, the ideal in an activity is to put as many facilities on as possible, and then learners at a range of levels can use that. And we see that all the time when we bring school children in. They'll often go in pairs with the teachers will put them in pairs, the more advanced learners together, so they can work on an iPad together, and maybe they don't use any translation. They just go for straight for the activity. Does that answer your question?
So we can have time for another question. Oh yeah, okay.
Thank you very much for the talk. My question is, if everyone can upload the videos, how can you do the quality control?
Yeah. Yes, that's a very good question. Now, First of all, we are not as big as TikTok. Okay, so at the moment we've got 150 activities. Now, when our computing science colleagues developed the interface, they put in some code so that if anybody puts anything, let's say terrorist related or offensive on the system, then it will send them a message and they can remove it. Okay, but as you will know, social media companies have had all kinds of problems with people uploading undesirable things, which cause all kinds of problems. Fortunately, we haven't had that yet. If we get bigger, it may happen. But I'll give you an example of the type of thing which has gone wrong. When we started, some people didn't really understand that it was for language learning. And so somebody put up a video, which was my favorite dances from all around the world, videos of tango and so on. But there was absolutely no language learning. So we just emailed them and said, look, so we took it so that it became invisible. People couldn't see it. And we emailed them and said, sorry, but it's, this is actually for language learning. Okay, so we can remove things, but generally it's people who have misunderstood what the aim of the app is.
So yeah. So okay, one more question.
Thank you very much, Paul. That's a very interesting. Thank you. I have basically perhaps a very pragmatic question regarding the visitors. Do you track how often are these regular visitors, or do they just come one-off and then you never see them again?
That's a good question. When we started the app, it was a lot easier because we used Google Analytics and we just pressed a button and it gave us lots of information. But now Google have changed the system and it's become much more difficult for us to track anything. That's one of the reasons the data I showed you was 2 years out of date. So we're working on that at the moment. So no, we don't always know. If we did track the users, then myself and Muge would be the top users. So I suppose that's true. But yes, we're trying to find a better way of getting information about the system, but we don't yet know what it is.
Okay, so if anybody still have any more questions for Professor House, you can ask him when you visit the digital kitchen. So now I think we can wrap up, and then we are going to have tea break now. So